with a knife, you can kill someone. You can hurt someone. You can harm someone. You can also use that knife to chop fruits and vegetables to eat. And also, you can use that knife by a surgeon to save someone's life.
Yeah.
And so with money, it's not a bad thing. It depends how you use it and how you show it.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that there's also, we shouldn't pass judgment on people who choose to live in a big house or who choose to buy nice things or to choose to go out, because at the end of the day, I think we believe that if you're a monk, if you're spiritual, if you're this, if you're a woman, you're a man, this is the life you should lead. And I spoke about this in my TED Talk. We believe in conformity. We believe that everyone should follow this one path to success.
Yep.
And we shouldn't put everyone in a box. So, you know, if I say to you, oh, you're so spiritual, then why are you spending £20 on your lunch? You know? Everyone has a different idea of what people should be. And I think we just need to be accepting of who we are.
Hello and welcome to another episode of For Soul's Sake, a podcast in which we aim to give you candid, honest, real conversation on spirituality and holistic wellness alongside a host of amazing guests. Today we're joined by an amazing person, someone who I deeply, deeply appreciate has taken the time out to be with us. But I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us every single week, for listening, learning and growing with us. Thank you so much for being part of our amazing growing community. Today we're joined by Shivani Pau. She's an entrepreneur. She's the founder of My Performance Planner, and most popularly, she's known for her highly successful podcast, A Millennial Mind. She's ranked, believe this or not, in the top 1.5% of podcasts globally. And throughout her podcast, Shivani's challenged millennial limiting beliefs by interviewing guests from a variety of backgrounds with a plethora of expertise who provide guidance and practical tips to uplift the mindsets of today's generations. Shivani left her corporate consulting job to live a life which seeks to entertain, educate, and inspire people to live a more positive and energized life, and has accelerated rapidly in doing so in the past few years. Shivani, thanks for being... I feel a little bit nervous.
You feel nervous?
Yeah, because you're like some, I don't know, podcast guru now, and I'm sitting in front of you, so thank you so much for doing this.
Well, can I just say I'm a super fan.
Oh, really?
I don't think you know this,
Oh.
and I don't think I've said this to you before, but every time I come to the manor and you're singing, I jump for joy, and I'm like, Mum, that's the guy, because you have the most amazing, most powerful voice, and it makes me cry. It actually makes my mum cry all the time. So I always say you and Abhishek have the most amazing voices, and I honestly, every time you're at the manor, I jump for joy because I'm like, yes. And then when you're not singing, I'm like, please sing, please sing, please sing. So I'm a super fan of you, so don't be nervous.
Thank you. And Abhishek, if you're listening, he's a common friend of ours in LA. We love you. We miss you. Hope you're well. Let's dive straight in. You've accelerated and kind of skyrocketed your platform through the podcast, and in a very short period of time. It's kind of just, yeah, I mean, it's been phenomenal to see the success. Has it been difficult as well?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think with anything in life, everything is, if you want to do well in something, it's going to have its difficult moments. And part of anyone's entrepreneurship journey, they'll tell you that it's very up and down. But I don't really feel the need to always say that. And I think this is one of the things I share on my platform is there's a lot of people now who are working full time, have a side hustle, or are doing multiple things, you know, like you've just told me, you're doing so many different things, and they complain about it all the time. You know, I'm doing this, I'm so tired, I'm burning out. And I think there's this kind of narrative at the moment around working too hard is a really, really bad thing. And, you know, toxic work culture, people always talk around, right? And I'm not saying we should encourage it. But what I am saying is if you do want to build something extraordinary, if you do want to do something outside of the norm, I mean, who knew that you could make money from podcasting? Who knew that you could make money from social media years ago? If you do want to do something new and you do want to do something incredible, it is going to be difficult. I mean, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, right? So obviously there are moments in this journey that it's really tough. And I've had to learn how to edit, how to, you know, work on video, how to work on audio, how to set up mics, how to set up lights. I didn't know how to do any of this. And so it's all part of a journey. And I think that it's one that I'm learning and one that I'm becoming obsessed with. So I'm very happy to be doing it.
You look very happy to be doing it.
I am.
You've got an amazing smile. It's just like beaming, like I'm doing what I love.
It is. And it's so funny because I interviewed someone at the start of my journey.
Yeah.
And they said that when they met me, I was very nervous and I was very scared, and I was.
Yeah.
And then they saw me last time and I'm like, hi, I'm so happy to have you back. And I really do feel so blessed. And I remind myself every day that I dreamt every day of my life to be doing this, and now I'm doing it. So I'm going to be grateful for every single day, even if it's hard. And, in Mumbai, I was recording 6 episodes a day on some of the days. And at no point in that day did I feel like, oh God, I can't believe this. Because anytime I felt tired, I would think back to having my Dell laptop on with all my work emails coming through. And suddenly I was just like, no, I'm very grateful to be here.
What was the hardest part? What was the hardest part of getting to the point where you are right now?
I think when I had my corporate job and doing this at the same time, there were moments where I thought I can't do it anymore. I think back now and I think, how on earth did I do it? I was doing my corporate role and doing the podcast from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning, editing, aligning all the clips. I did all the editing myself.
Everything?
Everything. The only time I changed it was towards the end of last year. Actually, sorry, I did have a bit of help in July, but that was only for like 4 weeks and then that changed. And actually, that was the moment where I said, okay, well, I have to now think about quitting my job, because I was doing everything myself in terms of reaching out to the guests. And I don't think people know what's involved in a podcast. So it was reaching out to the guests, researching the topic, doing the episode, editing the episode, the thumbnails, the YouTube, the TikTok, the LinkedIn, and the Instagram. And so there was a point where I was thinking, this is getting too much, and I'm not actually spending time having the quality conversations because I'm just so tired. And I think, to be honest, at the end of last year is when I really found it a lot, because I'd quit my job, so I thought I was going to have loads of time.
Right.
That wasn't true, because I was actually adding more and more things to my plate, like my goal setting workshop. I've never done a live event before. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'd introduced a new planner. I was trying to do the sales for that. And I remember last year thinking, oh my God, I'm just so exhausted. And so on the 1st of January, I just took a week off posting. And I was still on social media. I was still on Instagram, but I just was like, I cannot post for 1 week.
Break.
I need a bit of a social media break. And by not posting, I stick to a very strict schedule as well. If you look at my feed, it's very aligned. Not that it's the most aesthetic, but, I try to keep it aligned.
I think it looks good.
Oh God, I hate the purple. Honestly,
I thought the purple was like the iconic part of your podcast. That you got this neon thing coming out from the back.
So
I was
disgusting.
like, wow, everyone's like angelically purple. It's cool.
No.
I like it.
It's purple.
I mean that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I hate purple. It's my worst color in the whole world.
Oh, crap.
So I now need to slowly move away from this purple design. But I don't know, maybe I'll have to stick with it, because purple's my color. But it was at the end of last year where I thought, it's really tough now. Something needs to change, and I need to outsource a little bit. And that's what I'm trying to do at the moment, is finding ways to outsource. But it's a bit of a balancing act, because obviously...
We'll help each other.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll also come to you like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
Entrepreneurial stuff now, let's put that to a bookmark on it, and let's maybe come back to it. I want to talk about spirituality, because this conversation is all about candid and honest spirituality. And we've been connected for a while because you used to come to, and still do, come for Kirtan at the Manor, at Bhakti Manor, a place that we both hold very, very dearly to our hearts. Tell me, God, spirituality, what does that mean for you? What is that?
Growing up, I lived with my bar, and my bar is someone who is very spiritual, very religious, I would say, more than spiritual. And I think there's a bit of a difference in between both. So I think in terms of growing up, I was very much involved in going to the temple a lot. My bar would tell me to do certain things in terms of
By the way,
fasting.
bar is grandma.
Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
my bar is my grandma. She would tell me to do certain things in terms of fasting, and I would kind of just like obey, and I didn't really think about it. And then kind of in my teens, I used to question things a little bit more. I've always had this very strong belief in God. I don't think that's ever changed. Whilst I think my cousins and my parents and a lot of my friends, that's kind of changed for them in and out. Whilst for me, it's been very, very strong. And so I grew up singing bhajans, and that was something I used to do with my bar. And, a lot of people who are probably watching and listening to this probably can't believe that. But, I would always sing in groups of people, and that's how I started singing. And so I sang on TV, MATV, which is like a very Indian channel just to sing bhajans. I sang on there for a competition.
You also sing?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But you see, no one ever knows that about me, because now I'm shy.
Yeah.
On Janmashtami, I actually sang at the Manor, and Abhishek got me that gig. I was very happy to do that. And growing up, I was very confident in that. But now I'm very shy in it. It's very weird. I don't really feel confident when I'm singing, and so I kind of avoid from it. But anyway, I've always had this very strong connection with God. And believe it or not, the first time I left the house when I was a baby was to go to the Manor.
Wow.
Right? That was like the first place I went to. So it's very, very special to me. It's one of the last places I went to with my grandma before she died. And I remember when she was very unwell, I did this kind of fast. On a Monday, I would only eat certain foods. I don't know what it's called now, because back then, like I said, I believed in a lot of these rituals. And my mum would say, if you only eat fruit and potato and yogurt and all of these tea, you can have all of these things, then I believe my nanny would get better. And I remember on Monday, that's the day she passed away, I was still doing that fast. And I remember that made me question, if I'm doing all these fasts, then she didn't get better. So what is this? But I have always believed in a higher power out there. And that the reason I believe that, and people always ask me, why do you believe in God? Is that when I come to the manor, I have a feeling, and I can't describe
put your finger
it.
on what
Yeah,
that
I can't prove anything, but I have a feeling. And I remember when my nanny passed away, every time I'd go to the manor for about 6 months, I would just cry. I don't know what it was, and I'd feel embarrassed about crying, and so I'd kind of be in a corner, just like crying. But I just felt that she was there, and I would just say to God, please just keep her with you, please look after her. And, now when I go to the temple, all I ever say is thank you. And someone told me that, actually. I think it was a talk that somebody was doing. A lot of the time when we go to pray, a lot of the time we go to a place of worship, we always say, please, can I have this? Please, can I have that?
Shopping list comes out.
Right. And when I was younger, believe it or not, anytime I would ask God for something, it would come true. And I'm not joking. One time I even asked God to bring this boyfriend back, and it happened. Right? And then one time...
Well, you've broken up and then you prayed for him, please bring him back, and then God somehow arranged
we
it.
got back together. And
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, wow, God really believes everything I ask for. And then one time, this is a funny story, I went to the temple.
I'm going to ask you to pray for me in a second, because if this is coming true...
No, seriously, I went to the temple and I said to God, I lost my iPod shuffle. Please bring it back to me. Then I went home and I was praying in my room, and I was praying, saying, please can I have the iPod shuffle back? My brother overheard me, who had stolen the iPod shuffle. And the next day he put it underneath my bed. So I was like, oh my God, literally anything I ask for comes true. Only 3 years later, he told me that was him. So I was very upset. But generally, I'm not joking. A lot of things that I have asked for, which were, when I was younger, would be a lot of things. Now I don't remember the last time I asked for anything. Came true. And so it was but because I never really asked for, can I have this bag? Or, the iPod shuffle was silly, it was my brother. And the boyfriend thing was really funny. But generally it was for certain things. And I really felt that, they would come true. And maybe because I would manifest them into my life, and there's that manifesting into the universe and this higher power. But generally they would come true. And now I just say thank you, because I feel so blessed in terms of so many things that have come into my life. To be, like I said, to be able to do this podcast full time is a blessing for me. And I really believe that I have this connection with God. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it does. And I don't believe there's one God. So, when I was younger, when I was about 19, 20, I was reading the Bhagavad Gita, and I was looking for a word, because when I was 18, I wanted to get the Hare Krishna chant tattooed on my arm. And I really wanted it, by the way. I was like, I say it every day. I want it. I've been saying it for my whole life. I've believed in Krishna for my whole life. I want it. And my mom and dad were like, no, you can't get it. And then at one point I said to my mom, look, I'm going to get it. And she was like, fine, if you want to get it, but you're going to regret it when you get older. Right. I just wanted to write Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I wanted to write it here in Sanskrit. Anyway, and I thought, okay, maybe that's going to be a bit crazy, so let me scout for another word. And I saw this word Bhakti that kept coming up. And I thought,
got the tattoo?
So yeah, one day I woke up and I just loved the look of the word as well in Sanskrit. And Radhi, actually, she has 2 tattoos here, right? And I think one of them says surrender.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm honest.
She has 2 here. And I messaged her and I said, where did you get your tattoos done? Because in Sanskrit, it's very delicate, the writing.
It is.
So I was like, I don't want anyone to random do it. And she told me this place in North Harrow.
Yeah.
And so one day I woke up on a Saturday and I just said, I'm going to go get a tattoo. I didn't tell anyone. I was like, I'm going to go. And I went there and I said, can you tattoo Bhakti? So I have Bhakti written here, which you can't really see, which is why I've never really shared this before. And something that I've never shared on the podcast.
Why did you choose that particular place?
Because it was you couldn't really see it. So I thought, in case, my parents tell me off, I really wanted to get it done here.
On your wrist, yeah.
But at that point, I was so young and there was this whole talk around, you won't get a job if you have a tattoo and
I remember that.
all of this silliness. So now I'm like, okay, I should have definitely got it done here. But back then there was that, when you get married, what will people say? And, what do you get if you get a job? And honestly, my whole life has been filled with what will people say and when you get married. Those are two phrases.
That one line has killed more dreams than any other sentence. What will
100%.
people say?
100%. And also when you get married, what will your in-laws say? What if your husband doesn't like tattoos? These phrases were said to me so much. So I just thought, I'm going to get it in a place where you can't really see it, but I know it's there and it's close to my heart, right? So I got it here. And then I was trying to change it as well. I wanted to add to it. So I saw this word, Ananya Bhakti. So Bhakti means, devotion to God, right? And so even from that age, I was like, I want to just make sure I've got something on my body. And anyway, and then this is something that nobody knows. So I learnt this in philosophy. Actually, I'm going to ask you to see it. What do you think this is? And if you get this right, then...
Maybe we should get a camera on it if it can't see.
Can you see it? What do you think it is? What does it say?
Is it a dolphin? Is it a
dolphin? Okay, very good.
Yeah, looks like something aquatic. Or it could be a diver. Or it could be... I don't know which way to look at it now.
What do you think it is?
She's looking at Kaylee, our sound producer. What do you reckon, mate?
I was going to say it was like a whale or a dolphin.
A whale or a dolphin.
Interesting. Okay, so this, and I've never really said this on camera before, this is a chair, okay? Because if you look at it like this, it's like a 3D chair. Now, there's a meaning behind it.
Yeah, I can see it.
You can see it?
I can see it.
Okay, so when I was in school,
I
studied philosophy. And a teacher told me, and this is the true meaning of the tattoo, a teacher told me that if you look at a chair from the top and the bottom, you can just see one side of it, right? You can just see one angle because it's bird's eye view, and from the bottom you can just see the base of it. If you look at a chair from the side, you can see different sides of it. And what that represents is monotheism from the top and the bottom, and from the side, polytheism. And so this is a multidimensional object. The monotheism represents, Christianity, Islam. We believe in one God. Polytheism represents religions that believe in multiple gods, like Hinduism, Buddhism. I believe God is one, right? And how I see this is a multidimensional object. So you see it differently. You thought it was a dolphin. You thought it was a whale. Some people think it's a shoe. My brother said it looks like a toilet. I see it as a chair.
Nice one, brother.
I know. I see it as a chair. And what that really shows me is that everyone believes in a different thing. Some people can believe in Hinduism. Some people can believe in Buddhism. Some people can believe in Islam. But we all believe in one thing, which is God. And I believe God is the same.
We get so hung up on this or this God.
Yeah.
It's this religion or this religion, this spirituality or this. We spend so much time focusing on the differences. Why can it not be this and this?
Exactly.
Why can it not be that God is both masculine and feminine?
Exactly.
Why can it not be that God is both omnipotent, but also will bend his own strength in order to fulfill the love of his devotee? Why can it not be both? Why can't it be this and this?
And so when I was younger, I always believed God was one. And that really came from my dad. He would always take us to, mosques and gurdwaras and churches all the time. And they would tell us to pray. Wow. My parents would always tell us to pray whenever we were in a place of worship.
I want to meet your dad.
Yeah, and my mum, actually. They would both always say, make sure you pray. And so I grew up with this idea that God is one. And that's why I got this tattoo. And I remember when I went to get this done, they were like, are you sure you want this? Yeah. And I was like, I do. And the reason
no one will know.
Nobody knows what it is, and this is the first time I'm telling it, so you've got some insider scoop. But it's really important to me to really always remember that we are all one. And that's where I say the definition of like God and spirituality kind of changed for me in the last few years, because growing up, I did believe that, I only believed in Hinduism. And then kind of when I went into my teens and I kind of went to different places of worship, I really understood that you find connection wherever you want to find connection, right? If I go to a church, I will pray. And I believe that I'm praying to God. If I go to a mosque, I will pray. And I believe I'm praying to God. It doesn't mean that I only have to pray in the temple.
Interesting. How do you kind of navigate? So I don't know what your lifestyle consists of, but are you vegetarian?
Yes.
Do you drink or smoke?
I drink, yes.
Okay. So how do you navigate? See, this is always kind of like tricky because I don't want to offend my guests by asking this, but at the same time, I want to delve into this.
Yeah.
I think a connection with God is so sacred, and I think that there are certain lifestyle choices that we make that can sometimes actually hinder our connection.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think that it's also important not to exclude people from that connection just because they've chosen a particular lifestyle.
For sure.
So like, often on our podcast, we have people that speak about substances, for example,
Yes.
having experiences with ayahuasca, marijuana,
Yes.
etc. And then feeling that they have a connection with divinity that way. And so I find it interesting. I find that, maybe that's something that we can maybe discuss together. What's your view on it?
I think that your connection with God is your connection with God.
Agreed?
So I believe that even though I drink, I would never ever get drunk and go to a temple, right? That's silly. I would never pray when I was drunk because I feel that it's a little bit weird. I wouldn't do that. I don't think you're a bad person if you drink or smoke or take drugs. I think you have a bad habit. I don't think you're a bad person.
Wow, I love that.
And so I think that if you choose to drink, and I don't drink every week. I drink occasionally when there's a party or want to go out or there's a reception or something. But I'm not a big drinker. And when I do, I'm having fun with my friends or my family. And in all honesty, that's really because I'm a bit uptight. I'm not really, I wouldn't really be able to dance. Like my cousin just got married. I wouldn't be able to dance at a reception.
Congrats,
if I wasn't
cousin.
Drunk. I wouldn't be able to. I'm a bit shy like that. And so that's actually, someone pointed out to me that maybe that's something, that you're a little bit, not insecure, but a little bit like you can't be yourself if you're not drunk.
But isn't that beautiful that you know that?
Yeah, and I was like, you're right, because I am uptight.
Yeah.
I would never dance if I wasn't drinking because I feel awkward. So I recognize that, and I don't think that hinders my relationship with God because I believe that is so sacred. I really do believe that. And so, but that's my relationship. I wouldn't choose to eat meat because I think that's harming another animal when there's no need to do that. And now I'm trying to make sure I don't wear leather and everything else as well. But I really don't think there's a need for that. Whilst weirdly, I think that in order for me to kind of let go and be free a little bit, I want to drink.
Yeah.
But that's my choice now. That may change as I grow older, right? Because I don't think I drink often enough to feel that it's like a bad thing for me. But things like ayahuasca and things like marijuana, I would be eager to try ayahuasca. And that's because people have all over my podcast have told me that it unlocks something within your brain and you're using different parts of your brain. And I, again, wouldn't think that hinders my relationship with God. I would think maybe it would bring me closer. I don't know. But I'm also very unsure about that because I haven't done enough research on it. But people have just told me what a positive experience it's been. I haven't really researched it enough to uncover the negative experiences of it. So, and that's what I think is that we're very quickly, it's very easy for us to judge other people.
100%.
And I think that a lot of the time I do that with meat. And I recently interviewed Gauranga Das. And I said to him, is it bad if you eat meat? And, if you are a monk, should you really be earning money? If your whole thing is around service, then why do you need any money? And he gave me such an interesting perspective. So on the first one, he said, you have to decide who you want to be in life. So if you want to be a yogi, if you want to be a spiritual master, if you want to be like a warrior, they're all different things. So if I want to be a yogi, then I have to embody that personality of a yogi. So I probably wouldn't eat meat. But if I want to be a boxer, if I want to be a warrior, then I probably would need meat to be strong, maybe. And so it depends who you want to be. And who am I to judge you if you want to be that person? Like I say to my brother all the time, like, why do you eat meat? It's so unnecessary. I actually can't understand it because I'm like, it's so unnecessary. There's so many great alternatives now as well. But for some people, they want to do that and they're a conscious decision to do that. So who am I to say you shouldn't be that person?
Right.
And that really, I don't know, his explanation really helped me accept that.
Yeah. It makes sense. Like, don't hate the sin. Sorry, don't hate the sinner. Hate the sin.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Like, yes, these things aren't going to elevate your consciousness, but at the same time, you've chosen consciously to do that.
Exactly.
Like, let's take a subtle example. Like nowadays, there's a whole thing about petrol versus electric cars.
Right.
If you're driving a gas guzzling car, you're the evilest person on the world.
Right.
But you have to understand that it's not cheap to drive electric cars as well.
Yeah.
And so I think there's so many choices that I think is easy for us to pass judgment on.
Exactly.
And I think exactly what Gauranga Das said is that you need to decide what kind of person you want to be.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if you want to be a lover of God,
Yeah.
then you have to make certain choices.
Of course.
And if you want to be someone that, is, I don't know, passionately achieving in the realm of sports, or I don't even know whether it's necessary to eat meat.
Yeah,
But
that's why I said I'm not
let's take the
sure.
example. Let's take the
Yeah.
example. Then it makes sense.
But maybe it is if like a cheaper option, because obviously alternatives can be expensive and time consuming. So yeah, I think I've become a little bit more understanding of that. And then the second part was around money, because in the space I think we're in, sometimes it can feel, and I think this is a block I've had, I feel bad to accept money if I'm coaching someone, right? Because sometimes it's like I'm helping you. So,
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way with my kirtan events.
Right.
There is a surplus.
right.
No.
And you feel bad.
Of course.
And how do you overcome that?
Honestly, I give a lot of it to charity. And I think that those who know, like, for example, Isha, I don't know if you're listening, she's my financier. She sits with me every Friday, and she's the only one that's got access to my QuickBooks login, someone that's outside of my family. And she sees the accounting, and she sees that, 99% of this is not actually going anywhere near me.
Yeah,
Like, okay, I might use petrol money once in a while.
of course.
I might
but
use-
you need to survive.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
I mean, petrol money mean like I'm traveling to an event, or
Yeah.
like I've got to pay musicians,
Of course. And there's loads of things. And there should be nothing wrong with enjoying life as well. Because for some people, they enjoy going on holiday and they want to stay in a nice place and they're working hard. And for other people, they want to buy a nice thing or they want to go for dinner or whatever. And anyway, when I spoke to Gaurang Das, he also told me an amazing analogy.
Tell me.
He said, with a knife.
In the hand of a surgeon, a knife in the hand of
You
someone
say
who's
it.
willing to do harm. Yeah, it's this knife is the same, isn't it?
Right.
So
It was amazing when he told me that. I never heard that analogy before. Is that in the Gita?
yeah. But it's
Okay.
not in the Gita, I don't think, but it's definitely in the Bhakti philosophy.
Oh my God, I loved it. I was
yeah.
like blown away by that.
Yeah.
So what he said was, with a knife, you can kill someone. You can hurt someone. You can harm someone. You can also use that knife to chop fruits and vegetables to eat. And also you can use that knife by a surgeon to save someone's life.
Yeah.
And so with money, it's not a bad thing.
Mm,
It depends how you use it
yeah.
and how you show it.
Yeah. Totally.
And I think that we shouldn't pass judgment on people who choose to live in a big house or who choose to buy nice things or to choose to go out, because at the end of the day, I think we believe that if you're a monk, if you're spiritual, if you're this, if you're a woman, you're a man, this is the life you should lead. And I spoke about this in my TED Talk. We believe in conformity. We believe that everyone should follow this one path to success.
Yep.
And we shouldn't put everyone in a box. So, if I say to you, oh, you're so spiritual, then why are you spending £20 on your lunch? Everyone has a different idea of what people should be. And I think we just need to be accepting of who we are.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why people are being so attracted to Bhakti Yoga, because I think that love and devotion cannot just simply be, love and devotion is only for God.
Yeah.
Because love and devotion for God means love and devotion for each and every one of God's creatures. And so if we truly love one another, then there cannot be space for love, for judgment in that love.
So true.
And so I think one of the reasons why so many people are being attracted to kirtan and mantra and chanting is because come as you are, you don't have to be this way or that. You come with a beard.
Yeah.
Come wearing colorful clothing. Come
Yeah.
wearing plain clothing.
Yeah.
Come, as a man or as a woman. Doesn't matter who you are.
Yes.
You're loved. You're accepted as you are.
Yeah.
And one of my teachers who just recently actually passed, His Holiness Kadamakanana Swami, I was in India at the time for that passing, he exemplified that for me. He very much showed me that you don't need to be someone that's super mystical to be a lover of God. Like sometimes we think of lovers of divinity as being, really graceful and,
Yeah.
He was rough and ready,
Yeah.
like he missed a patch on his shaving, no problem. What
Yeah.
to do, or, he spoke a little bit more colloquially, no problem, be as you are,
So
be
true.
as you are. I want to ask you, you're becoming, or in my eyes anyway, this is maybe just a subjective opinion, you're someone in a woman's body who is very, very, I'd say holds the flag for women in many ways.
Thank you.
And spirituality and women is a definite interesting topic. And I think that sometimes women can be excluded in many areas of Hindu worship, for example. I want to know what your thoughts are on that.
I'm not, if I'm honest, I've never really thought about it. Someone did tell me once, and I'm not going to get this right, so we maybe have to pause this.
Yeah.
He said, that, I'm going to try and remember what he said. He said that before every male god, there's a female god. Radha Krishna, Sita Ram, Lakshmi, Narayan.
Narayan.
So when he told me that, you know, sometimes we don't perhaps pray to the female gods so much. You know, like Lakshmi we do, Parvati we do, Sita Ram we do. But sometimes we don't. But I've never really thought about it because I think I've really, my whole life, prayed to all of them. I chant the Hare Krishna mantra more than any other, and the Hanuman Chalisa I say a lot. But I've never really distinguished them.
What's your views on female gurus? Like, that's been a thing on many people in the spiritual world, has been on their mind. Like, we see a lot of our spiritual leaders as men.
I think I don't follow that many gurus. So it's never been a shock to me.
What do you feel about gurus? What's your honest thoughts on them? Do you think they're necessary?
My mum grew up listening to Maury Bubble, right? So my family a little
Famous Ram Bhakta.
Yes. So in my family, my mum's side, when they pick up the phone, say Ram Ram. And on my dad's side, we say Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna, yeah.
So it's been split a little bit. My bar is a massive believer in Srinathji.
Okay.
Like huge. So we recently went to Srinathji and I took her 4 years ago as well. We went alone and she made, and I say she made me. I did this seva when I was there, right? Now, when we were there, and look, I don't know if people are going to like it when I say this. I like Srinathji because my bar loves Srinathji and she feels like elated when she's there. She feels like how I feel at the manor.
Okay.
When I go there, I don't feel this strong spiritual connection. And I'm very honest with my bar about that. I said that to her this time. I said, Bar, is it weird that I don't feel a spiritual connection here like you do? And she said, no. She said, neither did I when I was younger. And it's grown for me, specifically there as I've gotten older. However, 10 years ago, we went on this jatra. We went to Mathura, Vrindavan, all these different places. And in Mathura, I really felt it. So it was weird. But anyway, she really believes in all of these gurus that help her. Now, when I was there, I spoke to a local person. And I said, is this a money-making scheme? And he said, 50% of the people that are here are not real.
Wow. 50%.
They're taking it for money.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the thing is, and this is what I said at the start of the podcast, when you're younger, you follow all these rituals, okay? And when we were there, they would be taking milk and they'd be pouring over these statues. Now, there's people that are dying in India. There's people that are, you know, could really benefit from that. And you see a lot of these people throwing flowers and milk on these statues. And I don't necessarily believe in that. I think that we shouldn't be doing that when we could be feeding people, right? Also, there's so many different rituals and practices. Like I did one that my bar made me do. It was called, I can't remember what it was called now, but I had to go. I basically went to all the rooms and I did like these flower garlands and I made key and I made lapsi and I made all of these different things. And she wanted me to do that, and it had to be given to me by the sari. I had to be given to me by a Brahmin. Now, I don't believe in the caste system, so I didn't necessarily believe that a Brahmin had to give me the sari. But, you know, these are rituals my bar follows. So I don't necessarily believe in gurus. That doesn't mean to say that I went to the Maury Bapu Gatha loads when I was younger, and he was talking about things, and I understood them, and I learned from them.
Yeah, we don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
No, you know, I'm not going to say everything he says
connects with
me, but everything he's telling you is from one of the scriptures. And so I liked the examples. I learned from it. I just didn't understand so much because it's in Hindi sometimes and not Gujarati. But I don't follow a particular guru because, like I said, I have this connection with God. And so I want to start coming to classes where I learn more about the Gita. And if that's a guru that's telling me that, then great, I will listen to him. You know, a lot of people follow Radhanand Swami. I haven't had the pleasure of having, you know, that connection and those teachings from him.
If I can, you need to meet him.
But everyone says that, right?
Yeah.
Like when I was with Gauranga Das, he's a guru. I learned so much from him. So if I had the pleasure of seeing him every Sunday and he would teach me something, of course I would love that. I just haven't really had that connection.
You'd be shaved up in robes in no time.
Yeah. So I just haven't had that, you know, that exposure, I guess. And there are loads of gurus in India who I think are, you know, not legit.
Yeah, of course. You know, like
There's a lot of people that use religion as a kind of, disguised, but that's with a lot of things. And I think we always say that, gurus are bad because they're disguised as, they do this and they do that. Doesn't everyone?
Yeah, it's exactly, it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. The analogy is that you're giving a child a bath and the water's dirty, fine, you throw away the water. You don't have to throw away the baby.
Exactly. And I think that, a lot of people are so skeptical about religion because they think people are forcing it onto you. No one's forcing you to do anything. You can choose to listen to it or you can choose to not.
Yeah, I mean, all the things you spoke about, like the pouring of articles like milk and flowers, and then why don't we use that? I had to ask all those questions. And once I understood the purpose for it all, like, for example, even like at the manor, they have at the Bhaktivedanta Manor in Hertfordshire, is the place where I go for my temple worship. They have on festivals days, it's called an abhishek, where they pour water and honey and all these different articles upon a deity. But then afterwards, they distribute that. So
yeah, and that's great.
Yeah.
I think in certain places in India, you see it going
just
into the gutter.
Yeah, exactly.
And that I don't think is great.
I agree.
I think if you're distributing it, amazing.
And that's actually the principle.
Yeah.
See, I think sometimes we focus in on the detail and we miss the principle. Like the principle is that we're receiving that which has been blessed,
and that's
rather
amazing.
than it just being chucked away.
Exactly. And I think that's the same for garlands and flowers.
Of course.
At the manor, when you're doing the arati, they give you the flowers and you put it on your eyes and then you bless yourself. So I think it's very different depending on where you go. And that's why I said that it's not that I don't believe in gurus. It's just I haven't had the pleasure of getting to know one consistently and one that I can learn from every week.
Well, may one day you find that. But what's really been amazing is that I've found out through this podcast that you're quite a traditional person.
I am.
And what's interesting is that the word entrepreneur,
yes,
let's even scratch that, female entrepreneur, who is traditional in her values.
I am, a little bit, yeah.
Do you find that you come across a lot of challenge? Or do you find that there's any, how do I say, what's the word I'm looking for?
Conflict?
Contradiction.
Look, I'm very traditional in certain ways. Like, I wouldn't live with my partner before we get married.
Okay.
And a lot of people, if they're watching me, would think, what on earth? You're someone who doesn't
If you
seem
come from Western
traditional at
culture,
all.
this is weird, yeah.
Right, and I think a lot of the things I speak about aren't seen to be traditional. Speak your mind. Don't rush into marriage. Don't rely solely financially on one person. A lot of people who follow me would think I'm really independent, and I am. But I am also really traditional in certain ways. And, the reason why I am is because I've been brought up in a very traditional family and I want to hold some of that. There's certain things, like I said, I don't really believe in and I'll let go of that. Like, growing up, my grandma was actually quite liberal in certain elements in the sense that I was able to go to the temple and the manor in like a hoodie and leggings and like a tracksuit, whilst a lot of people would go in like traditional clothes. I never have. And my bar would always say to me, your connection with God is never about your clothes. It's about your connection with God. And so how you mentioned earlier, I've always had that. Recently I went to a ceremony and someone said, are you on your period? And I said, no. And they're like, well, if you are, you can't come. Now, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that if you're on your period, you're dirty. I don't believe if I'm on my period, I shouldn't go to the manor. Why am I dirty? I'm not. The reason why we said it back in the day was because you didn't have the sanitary products. So you were dirty because you would, bleed. Now we have the sanitary products. So why are we not allowed to go to a place of worship? It doesn't make sense. Some people my bar will still say, don't touch me if you're on a period, right? And I respect that because that's my bar's wish. But I wouldn't perhaps do that if I had children, right? Or if I had grandchildren. I wouldn't say to them, you can't touch me. But I respect my grandma so that she doesn't feel comfortable. So who am I to kind of say, no, you should change your views? So I think that, there's certain things I would change. Like, I don't believe that you shouldn't not go to a place of worship if you're not in your period. Some people would disagree with me, but that's my belief, right? And I will change certain things out of the tradition. But I am still quite traditional. And I guess there's not really a conflict because I know the things that I hold true and the things that I want to change.
How do you think that's going to work with the next generation, though?
In
because, like, if we are, like, picking and choosing what works for us and doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
How does that work for like our children?
This is a really interesting question because somebody questioned me on this. So I said that, in Indian culture, you have a koro.
Yeah.
Right?
What's that for just someone that doesn't know?
Sorry. A koro is almost how to describe it is before you have a baby, you go through a ceremony so that your baby is auspicious and it's healthy and it's happy and it's for the mum.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you've had a miscarriage, if you've had a death in the family, if you've lost a husband or a wife, if you're a widow, if you're divorced, you're not allowed to participate in that choral. In some families. In some families, right? In some families.
Okay.
Now, if I have children, I wouldn't care if someone had a miscarriage, they could do my choral. Now, for some people, they think that's really problematic that I'm saying that. And I had this debate with somebody, a family friend, and they said, well, why don't you just not do the choral altogether? And I think this is the problem we have with certain traditions. If you're not going to stick to them, just don't do them.
Right.
If you're going to go to the temple, if you're going to pray when you're on your period, just why bother praying at all? And it really eliminates a lot of people. I think that if there's logic and reason to certain things, like, look, you've just said about the milk and the honey that's being reused. That's logical and reasonable. But if someone didn't question that and that milk and honey was being thrown in the street, right? Then if no one said, look, we have to stick for it for years and years and years and we can never question it, then for years and years and years, we're making the same mistakes. I think that we should question certain things where we feel we're making a mistake.
We should question everything.
And, my grandma always says, you question everything. And I'm like, that's because I want to be better.
Yeah.
The reason I question things is I want to be a better person. And if I can, stop harm in any way, or if I can stop doing things that are perhaps upsetting other people, then great. But if there's certain things and you have an explanation from it, also great. At the Vali, my family throw vara over their shoulders.
Flowers.
No, like vara, which is like a food. I'm like, what does that mean? Are we wasting it? Like, what is the meaning of it? And no one knows. So why would I do that? Why would I throw food like over my shoulder or salt over my shoulder? What does that mean?
Right. It was the beginning of my spiritual journey, actually. Like, I remember when I was maybe, this is going back. Anyway, in my early teens, I remember my mum saying that we needed to go and do this particular ritual. And I remember just going, no, I don't understand why we're doing it.
Yeah.
And so we had a full-blown, massive Indian argument. Like anyone that's witnessed an Indian argument, they're no joke.
Yeah,
it
Star Plus.
It gets violent real quick. And so at Star Plus, you get that angle, dun dun. And so eventually came to the point where I remember my mum just going, well, I don't know the answer. Why don't you just go to the temple and ask them? And so I was in a huff and a puff, and I went to the temple and I asked the question.
Wow.
And I asked all the questions under the sun that I had. And honestly, I don't remember a damn thing about the conversation. I just remember the person that was on the receiving end dealt with me with such kindness.
Yes.
And I think that that's something that, it's not that we don't ask the question. I think that needs to be reciprocal, that we need to go and ask all questions, ask everything that's on your mind. Otherwise, what you're doing is just following blind faith. And at the same time, ask the question sweetly and also receive the answer sweetly. So if you're answering someone, I don't know anyone that's listening to this and feels that you want to try and answer your family who are questioning your spiritual values. Yeah, fine. Give them the answers based on scripture, based on your understanding, but answer them sweetly. And if you're someone that wants to ask questions about spirituality, also don't go in just trying to defeat people.
So true.
Go in with a mind which is trying to learn.
Exactly.
And then both parties will benefit, not just,
Exactly.
It's not about winning. Most of the time in arguments, it's not about winning. It's about coming out of the disagreement without having broken that relationship,
Yeah.
And so, value relationship more than winning in an argument. That was one thing. But there's this point that don't follow with blind faith. Be able to ask any question and go to the right sources for asking questions.
Yeah.
And at the same time, once you have the answer, don't feel that you feel elevated beyond everyone else,
Exactly.
This is another thing. Like, people feel like, oh, I've got the answer, therefore I'm better than everyone else. And I think that culture of just feeling better than everyone else almost demotes our spirituality.
100%.
It demotes our traditional values. So I think for the next generation, we just got to encourage them, ask the question.
It's so true.
Ask the
And
question.
I think that, we have to listen to actually hear the response rather than trying to find a response.
Wow.
Right? We're always trying to listen to, like, when you're speaking, normally I'd be thinking, okay, well, what am I going to respond to you? And that's how I was as a child. Like, I'm listening to you to debate you. Actually, now I'm listening to understand you. And they're two very different things. And I think, that's the thing with spirituality. A lot of people are, I hear a lot of people saying, and I love going to the temple, right? And I go, and when I was younger, I used to go with my family. And then in the last few years, I've been going by myself. And what people would say to me when they would see me there is, don't get brainwashed, right? This is a common conception. when I was younger, I used to get a little bit scared by that question. And as I've gotten older, I've realized, so what if I'm brainwashed? So what? So what if these people who are at the temple are brainwashed? So what? Are they happy? Do they feel connected? Do they feel joy?
You could argue that the people outside of the world of the temple are also brainwashed, isn't it? Like, what does it mean to live a normal life?
What does it mean to be brainwashed?
To live a normal life means that you're accepting the values of an insane world, a world in which discrimination, in which racism, in which hating people based on the body is completely normal, a world in which sexuality and pornography is completely normal.
So true.
You know, is that normal? I consider that insanity. I'd rather be considered abnormal and weird and brainwashed.
Yeah.
And living a life of holistic wellness and spiritual wellness and deep inner happiness than to be considered someone who's normal and accepting the values of an insane world.
It's so true. And I think we're so easy to say, oh, and when I break it down with people, what does it mean to be brainwashed? Oh, well, they'll brainwash you. Okay, but what does that mean? They will, what?
You'll lose yourself.
But what will change? What's going to change day to day?
You'll no longer want to be anything to do with this world. You'll want to only live in the temple.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
How happy would I be?
Yeah, right.
I'd be at so much peace.
Yeah. Are you happy, my friend? Sometimes. Okay.
Yeah.
So then don't tell me.
There is no greater feeling, I believe, than when there's kirtan on at the temple.
Yeah.
You feel like you're on drugs.
Yeah. You know, yesterday night, I'm not joking. This is a real story.
Right.
I'm singing in the kirtan and one guy jumps up and he goes, "This is better than ecstasy." I was like,
Stop! Did you actually?
I'm not joking. I wish one of you guys was there, but anyone that's hearing this that was
way.
there, I'll tell you the date. It was on the 12th of March. Anyone that was there,
That is
please
so
testify.
funny.
Someone shouted in the temple, "This is better than ecstasy."
Oh my
and I actually had to
gosh.
respond. I was like, "It is better than ecstasy."
My
Fully.
gosh, no, it really is. It really, really is. And I think that's the thing. Everyone has their own definition of ecstasy. And if you get that at the temple, if you get that doing whatever you want to do, then find it. Whatever it is, find it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean, and I think that people at different stages of their life can come into their spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not here to enforce on anyone, neither are you. I think everyone's just on their own path.
Yeah.
I have actually one question to ask you, though.
Oof. Okay.
Sometimes,
Podcaster is being podcasted.
sometimes, I can't help myself, can I? Sometimes some people find it uncomfortable when you see a lot of devotees chanting in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell me about that?
Yeah.
Because what if every faith was chanting in the streets?
Yeah. See, what the whole principle, there's like I mentioned before, there's always a detail and a principle behind anything that we see in spirituality.
Okay.
The principle behind chanting and dancing on the street is spreading the glories of their love for God.
Mm-hmm.
The detail is chanting and dancing on the streets.
Got it.
So what the principle is that they're trying to exclaim to the world that this is a process that's making me super joyful and I want you to partake in it. Now, sometimes that can come across as salesman-like,
Right.
like I'm selling you a book. It can come across as you're not being very considerate of the people.
Yes.
It can come across as being a little bit too eccentric and a little bit too out there. I often make a joke at the kirtan evenings that I share it on a Friday night at Omnom that, we're going to chant Hare Krishna now. And so at the door, Kaylee Woods will be standing there with a buzzer and a pair of robes. Be prepared to be brainwashed. And people always laugh about it because it's a joke. But I think that in every particular expression of love, we can always look at the detail and how it's being presented.
Right.
But the principle behind it is that they're just exclaiming, "I love you, God, and I want everyone to know it."
That's lovely.
When you're in love, don't you want everyone to almost know? We put it on Instagram. And if we're not on social media, then we put it, somehow the other people know. Why are you so stargazed? Like, why are your eyes so, like glistening? You're seeing someone, aren't you? You love that person. Yes, I'm in love, So you want people to know.
So true.
And so love is one of those things where it cannot be contained within any heart. When it's true love, it cannot be contained. It wants to be shared. You're more loving to the people that you're close with. Your family will even start noticing, wow, you're a more happy person. That's why everyone wants to be in love.
Yeah.
And when you're in love with the most supreme person, then the most ecstatic way in which you can share that is by chanting and dancing in the street. So that's why it's done.
Lovely.
The principle and the detail.
Thank you for explaining that.
Oh, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Anything you want to talk about? Anything that's on your mind at the moment?
I have so many questions I'm going to ask you, but I think you should come on my podcast because
I'm doing it.
I definitely could ask you so many questions because you're just so amazing. So
Oh.
I feel like I'm going to wait. I'll
Let's do
wait.
it.
I'll
Let's do
control myself as I'm on your podcast today.
Thank you. I think we should go into some quick fire round. Should we do that?
Let's go.
Okay. Question number 1. 1 word, 1 sentence. And if they're not, then I'm not going to shoot you. Don't worry. What's something you're curious about right now?
Editing.
What video editing?
I think my videos can be better. So I'm really trying to get obsessed with how I can make them better.
If anyone's listening to this that's a video editor,
Yeah.
can you
help me.
contact Shivani, please?
Please do.
What's something you're personally working through at the moment in your life?
This is such a good one.
Mm.
So many things, actually. I'm trying to find one. Okay. Pace. I am somebody who, for the last few months, has been doing so many things. And like I just said, I've come back now and I don't have much. And now I'm feeling I'm not doing anything. And I'm feeling a little bit like, what's the next thing I can do?
Yeah.
But I'm really going to try and force myself to slow down a little bit for a month. I still have to do my podcast, but what I mean is I don't have to do a million different things. And so pace is something I'm trying to work through. Like, it's okay to be a little bit slow. It's okay to take a little bit of time. And I think this year I'm trying to be kinder to myself. I cancelled every holiday last year that I possibly could. I really, and
You wanted to hustle.
yeah, and I still want to. And I feel that I really need a holiday because India wasn't really a holiday. It was a wedding and then I was recording. Yeah. And I really want to go on holiday with my partner. But I almost feel that I'm going to be lazy if I do. I need to unpack that.
Yeah.
I'm feeling too guilty. I'm only 1 year in my journey. I don't feel like I deserve to go on holiday.
No.
So I need to unpack that. So that's something I'm trying to work through.
It's important. Longevity, it's a marathon. We are.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, but I need to learn that myself.
Yeah.
Okay. In short, what legacy would you like to leave behind in this world?
I hope that I inspire people to make a change. I really, really do. That's one thing I really want people to change for the better, obviously. And it doesn't have to be something big or small. And the reason I say that is the biggest compliment you can ever pay me is you inspired me to change so I could go for this interview. You inspired me to take this chance. You inspired me to change my view on something. You inspired me to do more of something I love. Inspire people to change things that inspire them. That's the legacy I want people to say about me.
Yeah, the greatest tragedy is people just living their lives because they're in fear of what will people think.
Exactly.
And so if we can inspire people to change, just even take a step in a different direction.
Yeah.
I like that. Great legacy. Something you used to deeply value in your life, but don't value anymore.
Clout.
Wow.
Okay, what I mean by that is I used to think that having loads and loads and loads of followers would make me so happy and make me loads of money. And it absolutely hasn't. I think that I used to want to be invited to certain things and be in certain places and be involved with certain people because I thought that it would make me look a certain way. And now I literally don't care. I say no to so many things and I couldn't care less if it was going to put me in a circle with this person or put me in a circle with that person. I just don't care anymore. I never really cared about going to the nicest places to eat or being in the coolest places. But I remember at the start when I'd be invited to stuff, I'd say yes to everything because I'd be like, people have to know that I was invited there. People
You almost have to though, right?
You think you have to.
Really?
You think you have to. Not every place you go to is going to open, different doors for you. Loads of events I went to allowed me access to loads of guests, for sure. But did they bring me happiness? No. Everyone will say this, that when they see me at an event, I'll rarely drink. I never am there to party. I'm there to network. But also I'm in and out within an hour. It's just not me. And I wish it was. I think a lot of people think that I'm really sociable because of my podcast. My ideal life is, I can't wait to just have my own space, my own flat and just do my work and chill out.
Wow.
You know, I'm very much a homebody. I always have been. But I am
Into
social.
JOMO, joy of missing out.
No, I never get that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I get
JOMO.
JOMO. I never get FOMO. I never, ever, ever have looked at something and thought, oh, I wish I was there.
Yeah.
I always think, thank God I wasn't there.
Yeah,
I'm so happy I'm at home.
Yeah.
But I've always been a homebody. And you know, it doesn't mean I don't enjoy. And I think people think, oh, that means you're not sociable and you don't like going out. I do for like an hour and then I'll come back into my safe space.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Okay, last one. If you could create one law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be?
Don't lie. Just don't lie. Who are you lying for? What are you lying to? Yourself? The most annoying thing that I find that people are doing recently, and people are saying this to me, can you share and like my feed, my post?
Yeah.
Sorry, can you like and comment? I'm like, for what?
Yeah.
If you're asking me to like and comment, and you're asking 10 other people to do that, what are you doing it for?
Right.
Who's
What's
it for?
the purpose?
Yeah, what is the value? What is the reason behind it? What's the intention? So that it looks like you've got likes and comments.
I like that.
That's not the reason for you putting out comment.
I fully agree.
And I think that...
I used to do that. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it's a change, you know, it's a change in life. And I think that it's different if your intention is I want more people to see it. But if it's, I put a post out and I feel insecure, you know, some of my posts recently have been doing really badly, you know. I have, I think 125, something like that, 1,000. And some of my posts getting 500 views. I could hide it. I never hide my views, my likes and comments.
I don't do it
ever. Even if I get 87, leave it there because it's real. I never have bought my followers. So if I get low engagement, great. It's good for me to see that.
Agreed.
So many of us lie about who we are.
Agreed.
Hide our likes and follow counts, buy fake followers, do things because we want the clout. For what? What is it for?
Yeah.
And
To impress
so-
people that really don't really care about you know?
Exactly.
You know?
And so I think that if there was a rule that no one could lie, what a great world we live in because we're authentic.
There's this great film actually that would be interesting. It's a Ricky Gervais film.
Okay.
Does anyone know what it's called? The Truth About Lying. There you go.
Okay, the truth about lying.
Watch it.
Okay.
Watch it tonight. It's a great film.
I love people like you who say watch it tonight.
Why?
Because I always want to watch everything tonight. And so when I tell people watch this movie, watch it tonight, they're like, yeah, it's on my list. I'm like, oh, you're just so annoying. Or when they're like, yeah, I'll watch it in 2 weeks. I'm like, what's the point of watching it Watch it now.
Watch
I'm
it
going to
now.
watch it.
Exactly.
I'm going to watch it
Truth
tonight.
About Lying. It's a great
Truth
film.
About
It's like
Lying.
a world in which no one can lie.
How great. Liar, liar.
Yeah.
That's another great
Yeah, liar. But this, it's an interesting version.
Okay.
Anyway, I really like it.
I'll let you know.
That was it. That was the last question. How is this the end?
I know. So quick.
Should we just carry on forever?
We should. Well, I have to have you on my podcast now.
I'll do it.
I feel like you're going to give me way more wisdom though.
You
are. I just know it from now. I'm going to ask you all the hard questions. So.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I like being able to speak to people where I can be authentically myself. And I feel that in this conversation, I've been able to do that.
Aw.
And yeah, thank you so much for being so honest. Thank you so much for being so entrepreneurial and at the same time traditional. And thank you so much for, being available to my humble podcast, for being here, for sharing for soul's sake.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thank you for having the most amazing voice in the world. And I want you to upload all your kirtan on Spotify so I can listen to you all the time.
I think we're in the
have a
process. If
couple.
not, we've done
Yeah.
it. We're doing it, people. Thank you, listeners. Thank you for being with us. I hope you felt that this was a conversation in which you were able to explore different aspects of spirituality, entrepreneurship. And I hope that both listeners on my side and Shivani's side were engaged and that you feel that this is a conversation which you can come back to. Feel the permission to be able to come back to this conversation whenever you feel you want some entrepreneurial juice or spiritual juice. This is a conversation which is not just meant for one-time entertainment, but for your continual spiritual growth. And I want to thank you for coming and joining us to listen, learn, and grow. This has been Radhika and Shivani. And for soul's sake, give us a like and a comment and a share. See you very soon. Namaste.
For soul's sake, for soul's sake, for soul's sake, for soul's sake.